So we know that a group of mostly poor people who are assisted by charities will be at St. Mary Major to welcome him to his final resting place. The Pope of the peripheries, the Pope of the people, is very aptly receiving his last embrace from those who he loved the most, the smallest, the weakest, the last in society.
We see the whole entourage there from high above. Now they've just exited Vatican City. They're on the avenue here that leads to a tunnel that then crosses over the Tiber River and will take them into the historic center. People lining the streets there, and we've had plenty of reports of people lining the streets across the city since this morning. So while many were crowded into St. Peter's Square, which had at least around 50,000 until they had to kind of close it off due to the numbers, and then so many hundreds of 150,000 others in the avenues surrounding the area. We have many people as well, in addition, lining the streets or the sidewalks to pay their final respects to Pope Francis and the entourage here, moving at a pace that gives people time to take in the moment as it happens.
And these aerial images that were being shown are they're really quite impressive. They're beautiful. You can see the car carrying the Pope, and then above what I believe to be the Vatican Gardens, the Pope's Gardens, this beautiful green area, which I'm sure he must have wandered through so often.
And people always came out in floods to welcome him. I'll never forget landing in Timor-Leste, which is a tiny and new country, and the half of the entire population, 750,000 people, came to the Mass. The floods of people just there to welcome him. Very moving.
And they're countries that are so far off the grid, we barely even hear of them. And another gesture that was one of his final gestures was he visited the prison. He went to Regina Coeli, I believe, which is a prison in the Trastevere area of Rome, not too far from the Vatican. And it's a symbolic gesture that he does every year at Easter. And of course, with him having been unwell, we weren't sure whether he would have done, and the fact that he did meant so much to prisoners worldwide, but all marginalized people. And I think the Pope himself said, it could have been me, it could have been anyone in your position. And that awareness that he had and that he transmitted to the people who were suffering the most, I think is one of the greatest legacies that...
As you've mentioned, around 40 of them will be there. There might be more or less, but some of them have Martha and meet with them just to...
He's passing here in front of some very...
More of here, and...
Yes, it's remarkable also. It's the first, again... front of some very
more of here, and
yes, it's remarkable. Hopefully that voice will continue to resonate.
Well, right until the very end, his final appearance on Easter Sunday, he dedicated his on Easter Sunday. He dedicated his words, his Introductory blessing, which someone else read for him, but he dedicated it to the people suffering war, and he is...
They leave there, and again, it's particularly poignant and tough to some refugees and...
I must say, in these days in which tributes have been pouring in again and again...
So to the people... resonated in every aspect of his pontificate. So it was very clear when, up until a few years ago, the readers at the general audiences were all Monsignori, religious consecrated men who work within the Vatican walls. And Pope Francis changed that.
that he obviously feels Roman. He's Argentine, but he's Roman. He's the Bishop of Rome. He's said it so many times. And his devotion to the Salus Populi Romani is so significant as well. And he was saying he'd pop into the Jesuit house in Rome and sit down and chat with them, and even about, like events that were coming up that had to be scheduled or had to be prepared. But he said he'd invariably come open to dialogue, open to listening to what others had to say. In fact, Brother Michael Scherf said he wanted to hear what other people had to say.
See these stunning images as he heads towards the Colosseum. We've just gone through the Roman Forum there, and the crowds are
of all.
Pope Francis has often spoken of promoting an economy of peace and an economy of fratellanza, which is the word that inspires Fratelli Tutti. It means brotherhood.
Fraternity.
Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. An economy of fraternity, and it is bringing together a lot of the things that we've spoken about. It's bringing together the poor and the marginalized and the people suffering on the other side of the world, in our case, us being here in the Vatican, who are suffering.
Denouncing the great divide that there is between
Lateran and Santa Maria Maggiore, St. Mary Major. He'll be coming up on that, Via Merulana there. And here, so we're probably about 2/3 of the way there, I would say.
I have to say, it's a very touching moment. It's almost difficult to know what to say.
I think most people can see and watch, but many people are also perhaps following on radio. Yes, it is very solemn, it's very sad.
At the same time, it's a celebration of his life and ministry, and it's particularly poignant in this Jubilee of Hope as well, that he inaugurated, that he opened. And so I think, I would imagine that would be and of course it is the key theme as well that we celebrate in a very special way at Easter, at this time, a time of hope, of birth, new life, life in a new and transformed way. And so I think all today has been a wonderful tribute to Pope Francis and his ministry. And there we see the icon Salus Populi Romani. It's a panel made of cedar wood. It's about 117 by 79 centimeters, more or less. It's quite large when you bring it down to the ground. It's mounted in the chapel there higher up, and it depicts a half figure of Our Lady with the child Jesus in her arms. And the icon again is especially dear to the Roman people and highly linked to the identity of Rome and the popes. And as we saw with Pope Francis, he had that special dedication to Our Lady in this icon of Rome.
He visited the Basilica just recently during his convalescence at Casa Santa Marta after he was discharged from the hospital on the 23rd of March. He actually, on his way back from the hospital, he stopped to pay tribute to Our Lady.
We see those arriving, some of the cardinals and prelates who are arriving here for this moment before the coffin is taken into the basilica for burial. This moment that will take place here outside in front of the basilica.
The Cardinal Camerlengo, Kevin Farrell, will again preside inside the basilica at the final rite of interment, together obviously with other cardinals and prelates. The The coffin has been set on a stand. I don't want to call it a catafalque because Pope Francis specifically asked that the whole rite be simplified, no catafalque. So it's on a stand, about to be carried inside this beautiful, beautiful basilica.
And if I'm not mistaken, just before his interment, the coffin will be placed for a few moments with the Pope facing the icon of Mary Salus Populi Romani, so that he can say his final goodbye to the Mary to whom he has entrusted himself and the world to so many times.
It truly is a simple coffin. It has a very simple cross engraved in it, a tiny coat of arms, and the seal of the Holy See.
I think it's being shown to the crowd, who, as you can hear, have applauded, and it's our final goodbye now.
Yeah.
Before it's taken in procession into the basilica.
We hear the bells tolling. The Swiss Guards leading the procession.
Always present for the Pope's protection in every moment.
We're hearing the Sistine Chapel Choir there accompany us as the coffin is being brought in procession into the basilica, going through the atrium now and now into the basilica to be brought before the icon of the Salus Populi Romani, before being placed in the tomb that has been prepared. It's a simple tomb bearing only the inscription Fransiskus and a reproduction of the late Pope's pectoral cross. There we're seeing the icon of Salus Populi Romani in the chapel that will be next to where Pope Francis will be laid to rest.
Et omnis qui vivit et credit in me, non morietur in aeterno. Non te salta verum totalietes, et colle sicut annio vivum. Ego sum resurrectio et vita, qui credit in me, et siam si mortus poerit vive. Et omnis qui vivit et credit in me, non morietur in aeterno.
There we see the coffin before the Pauline chapel where the icon of Salus Populi Romani is found. And we have some children who are bringing a homage to the altar there, above which is the icon of Mary. Recalling the flowers Pope Francis would bring in homage when he would go there to pray before an apostolic journey, or to give thanks, or to for special prayers in his many visits there.
I think these must be roses that people have brought, because they were single roses, white roses on long stems, and people probably brought those to lay on his coffin or close to him.
I think there was a group of people holding them outside the basilica when the coffin was being brought up. And now he's
as you said, he is saluting Our Lady
and thanking her, I'm sure.
And now he's being taken close to the altar of St. Francis. The tomb's located just near there. And it will be taken to the niche of a side nave between, again, the Pauline chapel and the altar of St. Francis.